Live from Gulfstream Park in South Florida, this is a special edition of Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Florida Derby Day, live from Gulfstream Park. You can see the Gulfstream Park paddock right behind me. A little bit overcast, still a little breezy. It was breezy all day yesterday. And as you can see, right on cue, my papers take a little turn. But it's not quite as breezy as yesterday. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for the big day coming up. Florida Derby, obviously the highlight, but a really nice undercard of stakes races as well. We'll have conversation about much of that today as we did yesterday. Hopefully you tuned into yesterday's show, saw some of the guests speaking about weekend performances coming up. If you didn't get a chance to see it, you can always catch it on the Capital OTB YouTube channel. But thanks for tuning in this morning. We'll do a little handicapping first and then kick into Racing Across America, where we have some tape pieces that we did yesterday, some live guests as well, coming up a little bit later on. Mike Welch from the Daily Racing Forum. We got some of his opinions on racing this afternoon. Ron Nicoletti from right here at Gulfstream Park. Sat down with him and looked through some races as well. And we caught up with Safi Joseph. Of course, White Barrio for Safi coming up a little bit later on today and more. He has horses throughout the card. We talked about many of those. So there are some tape pieces. We'll be joined live by Aaron Greider, former jockey, now an executive here at Gulfstream. We'll catch up with him. And our friend Brian Nadeau will join us as well. We'll get some opinions on the card from Brian also. Let me alert you that there's a Pick 6 carryover at Aqueduct today, $19,000. If you're a Pick 6 player, keep that in mind. Aqueduct carryover today. Here at Gulfstream tomorrow, it's the end of the championship meet, so there'll be a mandatory in the Rainbow Six. Keep that in mind. Again, with the 20-cent increment, you can put together a nice ticket, kind of a healthy ticket, and take your shot, have a little fun. So keep that in mind. Pull up your PPs and handicap for tomorrow as well. Put a little money in the bank today, a little money in your pocket today, and maybe take a shot at that mandatory, the Rainbow Six here at Gulfstream tomorrow. And don't forget, there's also the big day out at Oaklawn today, highlighted by the Arkansas Derby, which, like the Florida Derby here, has an intriguing field. Speed King 15-1 on the morning line for Ron Maquette. Might be a little bit interesting. It's some value. Sandman, we've talked about him over the past day. We had Tommy Bellhouse and Terry Finley yesterday from West Point, part of the ownership group, and they talked to some Sandman. I've liked him throughout. I'm going with Cold Battle today. He's just kind of been overlooked, and we were talking yesterday with the Daily Racing Forum guys and kind of making the comment. I couldn't agree more. Had a bigger name trainer, this horse would not be overlooked with this level of talent. So, but as I say, I'm going with Cold Battle. Sandman looks very good. Will Cornucopian follow up that big debut effort? Will he be able to stretch out? And then, given the late start, does he go on to if he gets the points, he goes on to the Derby. But then, what are his chances there? It's going to be an intriguing puzzle and an intriguing aftermath coming out of the Arkansas Derby today down at Oaklawn. It is their race number 13, our time, Eastern time, about 7:45, 6:48 Central time, so about 7:48 Eastern time. So keep that in mind for a little bit later on today. Speaking of post times, the Gulfstream Park card today kicks off at 11:30, so keep that in mind. And the big race here at Gulfstream, the Florida Derby, about 6:42, so about an hour before the Arkansas Derby. But 14 race card here at Gulfstream, and we will take a look at the action at Gulfstream on this Saturday afternoon, Florida Derby Day. And again, thanks to the folks at Gulfstream for their hospitality. They're always great. It's always fun. Our TV crew does a great job, and folks over in the media office and whatnot. So we appreciate the hospitality. It's been great the last couple of days. They had the, now I've forgotten the name, a women's summit here yesterday. Some of the women from Gulfstream participated and kind of tried to introduce some new folks to the game, and it was up in our area where we were for the press yesterday, and I walked by a few times. It looked like a really successful event. It looked like they had a good turnout, so that was good to see. Again, always like to see when new people are potentially brought into the game, and they had a pretty good crowd there. I think the game plan was to have some new folks in, but also some folks who maybe just wanted to learn a little more about the game. And as I say, looks like they did a great job there yesterday. All right, let's jump in on the opener at Gulfstream on this Saturday Florida Derby day. I'm going to go through the card kind of quickly, and because it's 14 race card, so we'll give you some ideas, maybe spend a little more time on the stakes races later on. But again, then we're going to turn it around just a little after the bottom of the hour, probably, to Racing Across America, get into some of those tape pieces and then our live guests as well. But the opener at Gulfstream, we're looking at optional claimers, non-winners of one other than 8.5 furlongs on the grass. I'm 9, 2, 3, and 1. I'll put Dear Dad on top. Comes in good form. Nice win, 2 back in a state-bred optional claimer. Then bumped into this open company condition last time. Ran a pretty good second behind Tucson. Horse seems to be in good form. Ran well against this type on the move to this level in the latest. 6-1 on the morning line. Dylan Davis on board. I think this horse is absolutely live in with this bunch. Equivoque. Again, one of those, if I'm pronouncing correctly, Irod Ortiz and Todd Pletcher with the team will take some action, certainly. First start of the 5-year-old season, and this is a very lightly raced 5-year-old. Comes in with only 5 career starts, most recently middle of December. So again, kind of kicks off the season. First time gelding symbol. That was intriguing to me. And again, with these connections, a little bit of early speed, some numbers that match up. And when last seen at the end of the year, the numbers are moving in the right direction. I think the 2 is going to be an absolute player. And then Junction Road in the 3rd spot. Rohan Crichton trainee. Another one comes in with good form. 3 starts back on the synthetic, 1 estate-bred optional claimer. Then moved into the open company condition that we're at today. Ran a close-up second on the turf. The 3-race back win was on the synthetic. Close-up second was on the turf, and then followed up last time running an okay 3rd on the synthetic. But again, you look at that win 2 back, at the good second last time on the 2 starts back on the turf. I think the return to turf is going to be a key to move this horse closer to what we saw 2 and 3 starts back, although the last start was okay as well. In the opener at Gulfstream, it will kick off an early pick 5, 9, 2, 3, and 1. In the second race at Gulfstream, we're going to have early pick 4 action, 8, 1, 3, and 5. These are optional claimers, non-winners of 1 going 7. The number 8 is Avant Glory. Comes in for Ken Sweeney. And again, if you missed the show yesterday, we had a nice conversation with Ken Sweeney. So as I say, if you ever miss one of the shows, go pick it up on our YouTube channel on replay. But this one comes in having won 2 of the last 3. They bookend a 4th place finish. Last time was claimed in, I would say, fairly similar company, maybe a little bit lesser. But boy, the win last time was very good looking. Kent Sweeney having a pretty good meet. He has okay numbers off the claim. They don't, shout one way or the other necessarily. But again, since he's having the nice meet and this horse is in good form, we'll take a shot with Almond Glory. Second spot, Celtic Pride. Another lightly raced horse. This one 4 years old. 4 starts, a win, and a couple of seconds. Hasn't been seen since last May. That's going to be the question mark. But this horse showed talent, again, with the 3 in the money finishes, 3 exacta finishes in 4 starts so far, and comes in with some nice works, including a bullet most recently. So I think he'll be on his toes for the return, but the layoff, again, is the question mark. And then Beastly Speed in the 3rd spot. Kind of an alternating situation of wins and on the board finishes. I mean, the horse is in the hunt far, far, far more often than not, 10 times in the top 3 and 13 starts. And the last few have been very good as well. Luis Saez sticks. I think the Bobby DeBona runner is a player in here. 8-1 on the morning line. I think that's a fair price, and that could be a nice way to start off a pick 4 in here. Early pick 4 action kicking off in race number 2. I have it 8, 1, 3 and 5. Third race at Gulfstream kicks off the stakes action today. It's the Cutler Bay, $165,000 up for grabs for the 3-year-olds, going 7.5 on the grass. I always talk about it. I love these 3-year-olds on the turf. I think it's a very fun subdivision. This one, 9, 2, 1, and 5. I'm going to put Ford Steel on top. Safi Joseph runner with Irad Ortiz on board. Clearly, with that team, will take plenty of action, but deservedly so. The start 2 back was off a little bit of a late season layoff, October to February, came back, led them all the way on the front end, moved out of that into the Colonel Liam, and was behind Mibiago. Enter the Dragon, who goes from that turf start, that turf second, into the Florida Derby a bit later today. But I think it was a salty little field in there and ran an okay fourth. I think Ford Steel is going to be interesting in the Cutler Bay this afternoon. Classic, of course, goes out for Patrick Biancone off a synthetic try last time. The rest of the resume was dirt, but moved on to the synthetic last time and ran a close-up second. Now, given that, I'm guessing the turf may be okay. We'll find out more. But Frankie Dettori on board, and another one that in the hunt more often than not. And I'm due in the third spot. Added the blinkers last time. They absolutely seem to make a difference. We talked to Ken Sweeney about this horse, little New York bred, and I would think he mentioned a couple of stakes potentially, but being a New York bred, we may wind up seeing I'm due up in Saratoga this summer. And so pay attention, because the question mark for me is the class moving out of the optional claimer starter allowance and trying stakes company for the first time. But when this one added the blinkers last time, looked very good, I think, as a player. Paco Lopez sticks on board in the Cutler Bay, 9, 2, 1, and 5. Race number 4 this afternoon, the Orchid, grade 3 event for Fillies and Mares 4-year-olds and up. 1.5 miles on the turf, 2, 3, 6, and 5. Talked with Dylan Davis. He was also on the show yesterday. Silvology for Shug. The last couple of starts were pretty good. They were both with Dylan. This one trying stakes company for the first time. I didn't put that one in my top 4, but Silvology scares me. I went with La Mahena. Goes out for Christophe Clement off a series of third-place finishes. Dylan had been on board this one, but picks up Irad today with Dylan on Silvology. But as I say, is right in the mix. And has been doing it in stakes company. So I think is going to be a player in here and what looks like a kind of a competitive bunch. Queen Regent from Brendan Walsh. And again, Tyler Gaffleone named on board. If you are unaware, he broke his ankle a couple days ago. He's going to be on the sidelines for, it sounds like, maybe a couple of months. It's just bad timing for Tyler. But so, check your scratches and changes and whatnot. But this one comes in off a series of nice races as well. 4th place finish last time, 5th before that, 3rd. But they're all within a couple of lengths. And so this horse is absolutely a player. And then Beach Bomb showed some speed last time. But, I mean, look at it was out on the front end, which hadn't been typical for this Graham Motion runner. But, I mean, 50 and change, 116 and change. I looked at this one in a field that doesn't look to have a whole lot of speed, and the first thought was, maybe this one leads them all the way around. But you look at those fractions, I'm not sure we're going to get this one up front in those kind of fractions. You look at the race 2 back for My Brazilian Girl. If you're looking for speed, that might be the one, given that race 2 back. But for me in the 4th, the Orchid, 2, 3, 6, and 5. And we'll take one more before the break. Race number 5 this afternoon. Nice little maiden special weight event that I think is, one of those big day kind of maiden races that will produce some runners potentially to watch a little bit later in the year from some notable connections. In the 5th, I have a 4, 5, 6, and 10 XY Prime. I always love the Vacoma early runners, and this one ran a decent 3rd in debut. And it was the kind of race that I think is a little foundation to provide a move forward from. But again, with that win early breeding, little experience under the belt, number 4, XY Prime. Thought Control, Safi Joseph runner, coming up later. We did tape a piece with Safi Joseph, and given a nice maiden race like this on the card, I asked him about that one. He said he would have preferred to debut at 6, but he thought this horse had some talent, and given the workouts, I wouldn't be surprised to see a good run from this one, owned by E5. And again, Safi trains. Mainstream, the third spot. Brad Cox, firster by Spitestown. Nice steady string of workouts there as well. This fifth will be a fun race to watch, as I say, with some potential going forward. In the fifth at Gulfstream, 4, 5, 6, and 10. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, more on the Saturday Florida Derby card. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back. Seth Merrow live from Gulfstream Park. What's been so far a fabulous trip. Just the weather, obviously, after a rough winter up in the Albany, Saratoga area. It's nice to be down here in some warm weather, certainly. As I say, currently you can kind of see behind me, a little overcast, a little breezy today, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that things hold up for a solid Saturday Florida Derby Day card. And we'll kick back in with race number 6 today, the Pan American. Going to kick off a pick 5 here, mid-card pick 5 in race 6, mile and a half on the grass. I am a 7, 3, 4, and 5. Capture the flag on top. Todd Pletcher runner comes in on a series of improving efforts, highlighted by the last out win in the McDiarmid. That was at a mile and 3/8. You know, that is similar this day and age, marathonish type distance. The race before that, a mile and a half, a good second place finish on the synthetic. So the last couple seems to have proved that this horse is long-winded enough to get it done in here and comes in good form. Irad Ortiz hops on board. Cash Equity in the second spot. Seffi Joseph trainee. That was a close-up third to capture the flag last time. And I mean a close-up third with a nice effort down the lane to be right there. 2 starts back, close-up second, and just missed second in the mile and a half. McKnight. So another one proven at trips like this, and off the last couple comes in good form. Farbridge in the third spot. Christophe Clement trainee. That you look down the page and you see some triple-digit buyers that will attract the attention of people. Last time was in the Breeders' Cup Turf and had a 98 buyer and was well beaten. Was 6 lengths back in 9th behind Rebel Romance. But it was the Breeders' Cup Turf. The races just before that were very good. The Turf Classic and the Sword Dancer up at Saratoga. Turf Classic, Belmont at Aqueduct. Those were both wins, again, with triple digits. This isn't a horse that has triple digits consistently down the page. Excuse me. So I don't know whether on the comeback we're going to get a triple-digit performance like that. But there's enough talent here to think this horse is a player. The little bit of a layoff since the Breeders' Cup is maybe the question mark, and you think this is kind of a starting point to go forward from. How cranked up will we be? The workouts aren't really jumping off the page, but I think Farbridge is absolutely talented enough that you have to have in the mix. In the 6th at Gulfstream, the Pan American, I have it 7, 3, 4, and 5. Race number 7, folks, will be definitely checking this one out because it is White Abarrio in here. Second start of the season. It is the Ghost Zapper Grade 3 event, mile and a 16th. I couldn't get past White Barrio. 4, 2, 3, and 5. I think on the day he will be a single for a lot of people. And speaking of that, this is a mid-card pick 4 kickoff race, race number 7. White Barrio, 9 starts at Gulfstream Park, 7 wins and a second. So likes the home cooking here at Gulfstream for sure, as evidenced by the win last time in the Pegasus. And if you didn't see that, it was kind of a tour de force. Just came down the stretch, powered away, a 109 buyer, which, believe it or not a lifetime best. He had the 110 a couple seasons back, winning the Whitney up at Saratoga. This has been a nice runner throughout the career. 9 wins and 20 starts, over $6.5 million. As I say, I think he'll be a lot of people's single, and he looks awfully tough in this spot. And again, we talked to Safi a little bit later, and it's interesting. Look for a little White Barrio up at Saratoga, potentially the early part, and then later on as well. But you'll hear more about that from Safi in a few. So White Barrio on top. If you were looking for an upset, or if you're looking for, underneath, what might you play in exacta? Tuscan Sky, lightning tones are maybe a little bit interesting. Power Squeeze has numbers that maybe will attract attention, but the filly facing the older boys in here, the older males, I put her down in the 4th spot. Tuscan Sky goes out for Fletcher and Rapoli off a couple of starts that aren't inspirational necessarily, but I think fits with the rest of this bunch. And Lightning Tones, I definitely think is a player, comes out of a 3rd in the Gulfstream Park Mile, and again, at a decent little morning line price, maybe one to think about. If you're looking for an upset, it's going to be tough, but if you're looking for a little something to put underneath, maybe. In the 7th at Gulfstream, 4, 2, 3, and 5. Race number 8 at Gulfstream Park. Optional claimers, non-winners of 2 other than a mile on the turf. I have it 4, 3, 13, and 10. Look at your scratches. The 13 is an AE. If that one doesn't get in, I will pull the 7 into the mix. But Enlighten, the 13, is first on the AE list for Todd Fletcher. So all it's going to take is one to step out for that one to step in. But number 4 on top, Beyond Stoked, going out for Brian Lynch off a nice try last time in a similar race. The buyer went forward, 3rd start of the season from a August to January layoff. So this is legitimately 3rd start back, maybe more movement forward. Put that one in a good spot. Manny Franco in town. He will be on board. 2nd spot, I have Tis Romantic, Marty Drexler runner, who comes in off a series of good races. Marty Drexler having a very good Gulfstream Park meet. And I think this horse in good form with the connections who are going well, looks to be a player also. And then in the 3rd slot, as I say, Enlighten, nice win 2 and 3 starts back, and then last time had the lead late and then got passed, still ran well, was the beaten favorite there. If this one makes it in, the post position is going to be no bonus, but if Enlighten sneaks in, I think you have to pay attention. In the 8th at Gulfstream, 4, 3, 13, and 10. Again, if the 13 doesn't get in, take a look perhaps at the 7. Race number 9 this afternoon, Gulfstream Park Oaks. Again, as is typical on a big day for the 3-year-old boys, there's also a big race for the 3-year-old girls. Some on the boys on the path to the Kentucky Derby, perhaps. The girls on the path to the Kentucky Oaks. We'll see how that all works out. But Gulfstream Park Oaks, Grade 2 event. And $250,000 up for grabs. 8.5 furlongs is the trip. 4, 6, 3, and 7. And it hard to get by 5G and the Queen's MG. I have them 1st and 3rd. They bookend Cassiar for a Shug. 2nd start of the career. Might be interesting, but I put 5G on top. Good 2nd last time in the Honeybee when shipped over to Oaklawn by George Weaver. George Weaver having a pretty good meet down here. But before that, was at Oaklawn last time. 2 back was here at Gulfstream, and a very nice winner of the cash run. So on the return to Gulfstream, I'll put 5G on top. 2nd spot, as I say, Cassiar for Shug, Dylan Davis on board. Nice winner in the career debut over at Tampa. Just a nice gutsy win there. Shug is fairly conservative, and so to come out of that and try the Gulfstream Park Oaks. I just found that intriguing. So I'll take a little pop there in the second spot. And the Queens MG, again, we got a little some comments on this one from Safi coming up a little bit later. And as he noted, and as you will note when you look at the PPs, question mark is going to be the distance, and we'll have to answer that. Looked pretty good last time. Looked really good last time in the Devona Dale. I liked Lecara that day, who ran well, but the Queens MG ran better. So again, the distance will be the question, but she certainly has plenty of talent, as we all saw last year up in our neighborhood in both the Schuylerville and the Adirondack. So for me, in the Gulfstream Park Oaks, 4, 6, 3, and 7. And race number 10 today is going to be the Sanibel Island. Sanibel Island race 10 will kick off the late pick 5 at Gulfstream. These are 3-year-old fillies going 7.5 on the grass. 6, 3, 10, and 1. Savetta on top for Brendan Walsh. Ran 5th last time, and Here Comes the Bride, but it was a fairly close-up 5th. 2 starts back, just missed in the Ginger Brew, but 3 starts back ran very well in the Wait a While. I don't jump here with a lot of confidence. I think it's a competitive event, but I thought the last 3 starts, as I say, 5th last time at a close-up 5th. Irad Ortiz sticks on board. I'll take a little shot here. And as I say, what I think is a competitive event, the number 3 in the second spot for Christophe Clement, debut victor up at Belmont at Aqueduct in November, followed it up in the Ginger Brew. You have to appreciate that. They were confident enough to say, off the debut victory, let's try a stake. And they just missed there behind the talented Nitrogen from Mark Cassie. So I think this horse is a real player in here. May wind up being the one to beat. And then Classic Q in the third spot, also a Mark Cassie runner. Broke the maiden 2 back, and a close-up 4th in the Here Comes the Bride. But, it was a very close-up 4th. And stepping out of maiden company and the stakes company, I think you have to give that one a little bit of credit. Again, we will kick off our late pick 5 here at Gulfstream in race number 10, the Sanibel Island. For me, 6, 3, 10, and 1. All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our look at this Saturday Florida Derby card. Stay tuned.
Coming right back, the American, the European, and it is theatrical in front. Trempolino driving hard, full on as he's trying to get him, and here is the winner, and theatrical has won it. Absolutely spectacular.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
And it's the filly Winning Colours. Gary Stevens going to the whip left-handed. Just one crack though. It's Winning Colours turning in an absolutely outstanding performance. We're looking at one exceptional filly.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back. Seth Merrow live from Gulfstream Park, and we'll kick back in with race 11, which is the start of the late pick 4 here at Gulfstream. The Army Mule. These are older horses going 7, 4, 3, 6, and 5. I'll put Knightsbridge on top, as will a lot of people, I'm sure. This is a talented but lightly raced 4-year-old from Bill Mott. First 3 starts of the career. Well, let me go back to the first 2 starts. They were big wins at Churchill back in 2023 in November, then came down last year and towards the end of the meet here in May. Well, actually in March, end of the meet in March last year was a big winner. Non-winners and one other than. So 2 starts, 2 wins, 2 big wins, but they were well spaced. then doesn't come back from March until October last year and runs third in the Perryville in his stakes debut. Then lays off October to February and runs second in the comeback behind Inveiglet, who's in here as well. But solid numbers, clearly talented. Now gets to string a couple fairly close together. It's Bill Mott, Joel Rosario on board, Bullet Workout up at Payson. I'll go in that direction. I don't think the horse is invincible, but what we've seen so far and with the connections, I'll certainly go in that direction. Implementation for Safi Joseph. We talked with Safi, and again, that'll come up a little bit later on about this one. And I plugged the replay into the interview as well. Watch Implementation. Runs a good second behind Little Vic, who kind of steals away. But Implementation was a good second in that last start to Fred Hooper. So comes in off of that try of a Revolution, another Safi runner. Talked about, shipped him over to Oaklawn for a couple of starts, and the last didn't do much, but now comes back to Gulfstream, another Revolution, another savvy horse that should appreciate the home cooking with 4 wins and 6 starts here at Gulfstream. So I have that one in the mix as well, and then Gordian Knot, a player potentially for Todd and Irad as well. 11th at Gulfstream, again, kicks off your late pick 4, the Army Mule, 4, 3, 6, and 5. In the 12th at Gulfstream, the Sand Springs, mile and a 16th on the grass. I have it 6, 9, 12, and 4. Number 6 is Breath Away, Dean Reeves and company for Christophe Clement. Talented runner, has been throughout the career. 8 exacta finishes and 14 starts for this team. Comes out of a 4th place in the Endeavor over at Tampa. Before that was in the Swanee River here at Gulfstream and ran a close-up 5th. Before that, up at Aqueduct of Forever Together, a close-up 2nd. And then there's a string right there towards, late summer and fall up in New York that were very good. I'm hoping we get back to those. And I don't think that's out of the question. This is, as I say, a talented runner who, again, has shown some ability here at Gulfstream with 3 exacta finishes and 4 starts. So the return to Gulfstream and a horse with some nice back numbers, I'll tilt towards Breath Away. 4-1 on the morning line. Maybe we'll get a little value there as well. Buttercream Babe in the 2nd spot. Mike Maker trainee, good 3rd last time, although that was at Keeneland in the fall in the Valley View. But another one with enough talent that I think you have to look at that as a player. And this one comes in. The workout 2-back, I think, says she'll come in on her toes. And then in the 3rd spot, we'll go to the outside in our time. The outside post position here, going the 2 turns on the grass at a mile and 16th may prove to be an obstacle. But it's a Safi Joseph runner that comes in absolutely good form. 6 exacta finishes and 9 starts. 4 starts back, a win, then a close-up 2nd, a 3rd, 2nd. So comes in very good form. But again, is going to have to work out some kind of a trip from that outside post position. Race 12 at Gulfstream, the Sand Springs, 6, 9, 12, and 4. Race 13, the Appleton, 4-year-olds and up, going a mile on the grass, 9, 7, 6, and 11. We'll put Major Dude on top. Comes in off a close-up 2nd place finish last time in the Canadian Turf. 6 before that in the Pegasus Turf, but a win just before that, Fort Lauderdale. So again, you draw a little line through the Pegasus Turf. You have a couple of nice starts most recently. This one goes out for Todd Fletcher. Irad Ortiz on board. Looks kind of logical. Seminole Chief from Jack Sisterson. Also a player off a nice win last time against Optional Claimers. Does have some stakes experience a little further down. Just moved to the turf 2 starts back and seems to have appreciated that. I think this one could be a player. If you get a price on Seminole Chief, maybe take an extra look. Abramar in the 3rd spot. Nice 2nd place finish 2-back at Ellis. Then over to the Nashville Derby, the rich Nashville Derby at Kentucky Downs. And ran 4th, but pretty good 4th in a field of 12. So I think that one can be a player in with this bunch as well. Question mark, obviously, the fitness off the layoff going back to the end of August. A couple of the workouts are okay. But in the 13th at Gulfstream, the Appleton, 9, 7, 6, and 11. And the 14th, again, post time will be 6:42. That's what we're scheduled for. 14th race is the Florida Derby. $1 million up for grabs. Derby points up for grabs. Grade 1 status up for grabs. The Florida Derby, mile and an eighth with just an intriguing field in here and intriguing storylines, particularly Sovereignty on the outside. That scared me a little bit at the mile and an eighth, and we'll talk more about that. Mike Welch will mention that, the run-up changing in that situation. We'll hear more about that a little bit later on and how that may affect your handicapping thinking on Sovereignty. But being stuck outside, I just looked in another direction. I went with Disruptor from Todd and Mike Rapoli. They've won the last two Florida Derbies, so they could have a three in a row, which would be incredible. But Disruptor paid a lot of money for this horse. Keeneland, September 23. Debut went off at 1-2 here at Gulfstream in January. Ran a little bit of a disappointing third, but got the experience that clearly was necessary. Followed that up with a very nice win by open lengths, 92 buyer. Third start, stretches out for the first time. I'll take a little shot there. Madicate Road from Bob Baffert. Second to Coal Battle last time at Oaklawn, and I like Coal Battle today in the Arkansas Derby. I'll put the Baffert horse underneath, and then Sovereignty in the third spot. Tapan Street in the fourth spot. Sovereignty's the horse to beat. And, if the post position winds up not to be a problem, this one could head to the Derby with a lot of momentum. We'll see how it works out today. Race number 14 at Gulfstream, the Florida Derby, 4-8. 10 and 9. All right, we'll take a break and kind of wrap things up as far as the handicapper support. We will come back with Racing Across America. Plenty of good guests coming up. Tape pieces, Mike Welch, Ron Nicoletti, Safi Joseph. We'll be live with Aaron Greider and Brian Nadeau. So all of that as we wrap up the handicapper support, but back shortly, Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's player rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resorts Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Live from Gulfstream Park in South Florida, this is a special edition of Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome. Hey, wasn't I just here? I was just here. Handicapper support, but we transition now to Racing Across America. Seth Merrow live from the Gulfstream Park paddock on Florida Derby Day. Again, a little bit overcast. It was a little breezy. The breeze has calmed down a little bit. It's so at this point a very nice morning here at the Gulfstream in South Florida. We're going to head into Racing Across America, and again, we bounced around yesterday and caught some interviews. So Mike Welch from the Daily Racing Forum, he does the Clocker Report. We'll get some thoughts on some of the action today from Mike. Ron Nicoletti from right here at Gulfstream Park. We'll get some of his thoughts as well. Safi Joseph has a number of runners in today, including Wade Barrio. We'll hear from him a little bit later on. Aaron Greider, former jockey, now an executive here at Gulfstream Park. He'll join us live. And Brian Nadeau, our friend Brian Nadeau, will also be live on the set with some thoughts on a really nice Florida Derby Day card. Things are going to kick off at 11:30. Keep that in mind. A little bit of an early start here at Gulfstream. Great card. There are multiple picks with 14 races, so keep your eyes open if you like to pick fours and pick fives. Maybe a little extra action today in that direction. But why don't we kick things off, get right to it. Again, caught up with Safi after one of the races yesterday, pulled him aside. We talked a little White Barrio. He has a number of stakes races, stakes performers coming up. So we talked about a few of those, including obviously White Barrio, first-time starter in the mix as well for Safi that I wanted to talk about, thought control. So we'll hear about that as well. So up next, trainer Safi Joseph. Joined now by Safi Joseph. He has a full slate coming up on Saturday. We'll hit on a few of them. Let's start out Florida Derby. Neo Equus, nice record, a couple of wins, a couple seconds, a third in 6 starts, was third in the Fountain of Youth.
Neo Equus stretching out River Thames. Sovereignty warming to the task for Alvarado. He's on the far outside into third. Gate to Wire finds his best stride. Burnham Square's bid is stalled as River Thames has made a clear lead. Off the turn and the stretch drive in the Fountain of Youth, and River Thames, he has the lead by 2 with a 16th to go. Sovereignty begins to get on track, but time is ticking away. River Thames almost there. Sovereignty gonna dive at him late. Here comes Sovereignty!
Your expectations for Neo Equus on Saturday?
Yeah, the horse is doing well. The question is the distance. Does he want to go that far? I mean, he ran well in the Fountain of Youth, and that's one of the reasons we're taking a shot, because Sovereignty is a deserving favorite. We were 3 lengths behind him, and we figured, why not roll the dice one more time?
Let's go and take a look at the Army Mule. You have a couple interesting horses in here. Implementation, second in the Fred Hooper.
Around the far turn they race. Little Vic trying to brave it up. He's at the 5/16 and he shakes free a touch now. Implementation beat Rocket Can to the spot he wanted, so Implementation is now on a move. He's angled off cover to try to go get Little Vic. Off the turn and the stretch drive, the favorites are in deep water here. The leader is Little Vic. He's trying to get 1/8 of a mile more. Implementation is second, but his bid is stalled a touch. They come past the 8th pole. Leonel Reyes trying to get one more furlong from Little Vic, and he's got it. Little Vic goes Gate to Wire to win for Victoria's Ranch in the Fred Hooper by 2.5. Implementation second. The favorite was third, Tumbarumba.
For your thoughts on Implementation?
Yeah, he ran well last time, just second best, made a big move, and Little Vic just kept going. He went to Dubai, and now we got to deal with another horse in here. It's pretty good. So we expect him to run well. He always shows up.
And of the Revolution, comes in off a couple of stakes at Oaklawn. A nice record for that one as well. 4 wins and 6 starts. What was the thought process to go over and try Oaklawn?
Yeah, we ran him over there, and he ran 4th. He ran decent, and then we kept him over there, and he ran disappointed, so we brought him back. And we kind of regrouped, bring him back in this race and see what happens. It is a tough spot to bring him back in.
But as I said, the nice record is here at Gulfstream. 4 wins, a second and a third in 6 starts at Gulfstream. So clearly, you'll like the whole cook.
Hopefully he gets back to his form.
Yeah. In the Gulfstream Park Oaks, up in our neighborhood, we're very familiar with the Queen's MG, the winner of the Schuylerville and the Adirondack. She won the Devona Dale back at the beginning of March.
The rail open for the Queen's MG, but LaCara just took the lead. Racing into third is Ballerina Doro, but she needs to giddy up from there as these top 2 start to sprint. They're a 1/4 mile from home, and LaCara has the lead with inside position. The Queen's MG is right alongside. They're into the drive in the Devona Dale, and we're set for a good matchup. LaCara tries to turn back the Queen's MG, but the Queen's MG has made a clear lead. LaCara is back to second and tries to hold there, but the winner of the Devona Dale is the Queen's MG, and Irad Ortiz Jr. by 2.5.
What's the thought on the Queen's MG?
Yeah, I mean, she's consistent. She shows up and she runs well, and she's kind of overachiever, and just it was big if she won the Devona the last time. This time she's going 2 turns for the first time, so it is a question mark. She kind of trains where she relaxes enough that she should get a distance. George Reaver's horse in there is very tough to beat.
Talk a little bit about, as I say, we saw her win the Schuylerville and the Adirondack at 2. How did she progress from 2 to 3?
Yeah, I mean, she didn't grow much, but obviously she ran well in the Ford Gal, and once she ran well in the Ford Gal, we were confident that she would run well in the Devona, and she did. So her abilities definitely carried it forward, which is what we want.
You have Paradise City in there as well from the White Barrio connections, won the latest in optional claim. Or your thoughts on Paradise City?
Yeah, I thought she was very impressive last time. I feel like if she could duplicate that performance, she could win this race.
And I have to ask, obviously, about White Barrio in the Ghost Sapper. Grade 3 mile and a 16th on Saturday, the Ghost Sapper. White Barrio last seen. Nice victory in the Pegasus with a 109 buyer.
White Barrio makes his move into second now. Moving up toward the inside, that stronghold from between horses, Mystic Dan, but he's dropping back. Trying to get underway is Locked. The favorite has a lot to do. He's warming to the task, 7 lengths off the lead, but the Grays are 1-2. And here comes Florida Derby champ White Barrio, looming up on the outside, and he powers right by Saudi Crown. White Barrio is opening up with 1/8 of a mile to go. Back to second is Saudi Crown, Skippy Longstocking, and Locked are next. But this is a tour de force, a Pegasus World Cup to add to his Florida Derby and Breeders' Cup resume. White Barrio, sharp in victory.
What can we expect on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, he ran huge in the Pegasus, and he's trained well since then. We're happy where we're at, and this is a building block, hopefully, to the Met Mile. So hopefully, he run well tomorrow, and we go into the Met Mile.
Do you have any further plans, or is that you don't want to plan too far? I'm just wondering, Saratoga maybe for White Barrio?
Oh yeah, the Whitney's definitely in play. Met Mile, the Saratoga, Belmont, Saratoga, and then the Whitney's. You'd like to get by there also too. So there's a lot of big races for him, and this is one step. Hopefully, we have to get through this one first.
You have a couple others in there as well. One Sharp Cookie and Super Corinto. Thoughts?
Yeah, One Sharp Cookie running hopefully to get a place in. Obviously, White Bar's a superior horse, and we ran him. If we could pick up second or third, we'd be very happy. Super Corinto is going to come out. He's going to scratch.
Okay. Yeah. And I have to ask you on these big days, you got a first-time starter. We have to ask Thought Contest coming up by Gun Runner, owned by E5 Racing, seems to be working well. It's race number 5, a maiden special weight. First-time starter, what can we look for?
Yeah, he has ability. 7 furlongs is a little tricky to get started. I would have felt more confident at 6, but we'll give it a go. He definitely has ability.
Very good. Good luck.
Thank you, Seth.
And just to correct myself, I think in the piece I called the horse Thought Central. It's Thought Control. As I mentioned earlier on the Hadicapper support, I have that firster. 5th race today. Nice little maiden special weight event. I have Thought Control right in the mix. First-time starter by Gun Runner, Safi Joseph, owned by E5 Racing. So, again, that 5th may produce some runners to keep our eyes on as the year goes forward. But Thought Control is the horse from Safi. So, again, thanks to Safi for taking the time yesterday. It's going to be fun watching a number of his horses this afternoon, but obviously particularly White Barrio. All right, also talked yesterday with Mike Welch, Daily Racing Form, down here doing the same job he does. Here's where he is most of the year. We have him sitting in with us regularly up at Saratoga, where they do the workout report. The workout report, invaluable piece of handicapping information up at Saratoga with all the 2-year-old races and first-time starters. But on big days down here, they keep it up. He will be up in Kentucky, Churchill Downs, the 2 weeks leading into the Derby, doing a lot of workout work as well. But I thought we'd check in with Mike, who, again, spends most of his time down here in Florida for the Daily Racing Forum, get some of his thoughts on the big action this afternoon. So up next from the Daily Racing Forum, Mike Welch. Joined now by Mike Welch, covers Florida racing most of the year, up in Saratoga sooner rather than later, and a little Churchill Downs and Kentucky workout reports coming up. But a workout report is available for Florida Derby Day. We always tout those. You can get some good info. There is a nice little maiden race on the day that maybe we'll tout some information via the workout report. But let's jump in with the highlight of today, Florida Derby, Grade 1 event. I'm going to go with Disruptor, but I think it's an interesting race. Baffert has the horse Tappan Street, I guess is how you pronounce it. Sovereignty, I have the horse in the mix, obviously. Horse to beat, but post position scared me. Your thoughts on the Derby?
I think it's an interesting race, and I guess you got to start with Sovereignty. He is the legitimate favorite, but he does have a couple of wrinkles thrown in over the last week. He drew a bad post, like you said, outside. The outside not quite as bad this year as it has been in the past in 1 1/8 races. They've moved the gate back 53 feet, so there's a little longer run to the first turn, and the race is a little longer now, which will help a closer like Sovereignty. But I agree with you. This is a race this horse does not have to win. He's already qualified for the Derby. He's coming off a very fast race in the Fountain of Youth, off a long layoff, coming back in a month. This is not the goal. Obviously, the goal for him is to peak on Kentucky Derby Day. I'm sure he'll run well, but he might be vulnerable here at a short price, so I agree there with you. As far as Todd's horse goes, Disruptor, A lot of question marks to answer. Just like Bob Baffert's horse, or Cornucopia in the Arkansas Derby, limited experience, going 2 turns for the first time. It's a lot to ask of a young horse. And if he does succeed, or either of them do succeed, now you've got a pretty tough race coming up 5 weeks before the Derby for a lightly raced horse going into the Derby. So tough situation for both those horses to be in. We're concerned about tomorrow. Can Disruptor win? Sure, he could win. He's going to be forwardly placed coming off of those sprints, but he's got Niakos on his inside who's going to be leaving, and he's got Hadicapper Road on his outside who's going to be leaving and showing speed. So can he clear? Will he sit? Can he close? A lot of question marks for a horse that's probably going to be a little bit of a short price. I took Tappan Street, and again, this horse only has 2 starts too. I like what Brad did, though. He ran a big number in the Holy Bull. First time around 2 turns. He skipped the Fountain of Youth, gave him some time to recuperate. He's working well. He looks like he could sit a stalking trip. The advantage he has over Disruptor, both have 2 starts, but he's already been a mile in the 16th. So with that in mind, I picked Tappan Street. Thought he might be a square price. Hadicapper Road, he's improved with every start. He's been 2 turns. He's working well, but his numbers are a little slower than these. We'll see if he can move up and catch the favorites in here as far as from a figure standpoint. He's going to be one of the favorites too. I just kind of sided against. He's going to be overbet, coming from the Baffert barn. Only the second, hard to believe, only the second time Bob Baffert has started a horse in the Florida Derby. The first one finished a distant 8th. And Niakos from the rail, he's going. If he breaks, he's got to go to the lead. It's his only chance. Question on the distance with him. If he can get loose from the other speed and the track is playing favorable for that style, maybe he can carry his speed and be there at the end. But I took a shot with Tappan Street, but it's a very tough handicapping puzzle.
Yeah, it's a fun race, no question about it. And we'll produce some runners that will head to the Kentucky Derby, you would think, with some momentum. And for folks who aren't familiar, because we've mentioned it a few times already, they have changed the run-ups here. What is that, about 2 weeks now? And for folks who aren't familiar with that situation, essentially they start timing the race at the same spot on the track for the mile and an 8th, but they've moved the gate back further, correct?
Yes, the gate will be back 53 feet further than it used to be. It was back even further than that before the Fountain of Youth. They really ran almost a mile and an 8th in the Fountain of Youth. That's how far back the gate was. And this is going to be more than a mile and an 8th. So it's a good prep for horses going to the Derby. It's not a mile and an 8th. It's a little longer now, and it's a little advantage to the closers. It will make the run to the first turn ostensibly a little safer and a little more fair for the outside horses. We'll see how that turns out. Still, you never want to be on the outside in a 10, 12 horse field going 2 turns, though, because chances are you're going to get parked out wide at some point.
All right, a little bit earlier on the card, we have the boys in the Florida Derby, Gulfstream Park Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies. 5G is interesting to me. The Queen's MG, who ran so well up at Saratoga last summer. In between those two, Cassier from Shug in the second career start. Interesting group in here. Your thoughts on the Oaks?
I think on paper it's a 2-horse race, 5G and the Queen's MG. 5G has a couple of advantages over this horse, though. Not only is she coming off a huge effort behind a really nice horse, Quiet Side, in the Honeybee, but she's been 2 turns now, and the Queen's MG is not. She's going to have to prove that she can do that. I also think that the field in the Honeybee was better than the field that the Queen's MG beat here in the Devona Dale. So they're 8-5 and 9-5 in the line. I think when the smoke clears, 5G is going to be even money, and I think she's the horse to beat. Looking for a long shot, I'd throw in Paradise City on the rail for Safi also. Comes off a huge race last time, around 2 turns, so she's proven at the distance, and good post on the rail. I think she could be a sleeper in here. Well, that's a perfect segue, because Paradise City, owned in part by C2 Racing, owns in part White Barrio, and that one runs earlier on the card in the Ghost Sapper. White Barrio for Safi, coming out of the very big performance in the Pegasus with a 109 buyer, 7 wins and 9 starts at Gulfstream. I couldn't get past that one. Lightning Tones may be a little bit interesting in here. Tuscan Sky from Pletcher and Rapoli obviously attracts some interest, but your thoughts on the Ghost Sapper? I mean, it's just a fun race to watch and see what a White Barrio does. I mean, this is a prep for his next start. It isn't going to be the Metropolitan Mile. I mean, his performance in the Pegasus may be the best race of his career so far, and we're talking about a horse who won the Breeders' Cup Classic. It was just awesome. When you look at who he beat that day, Locke finished second, a distant second, came back and won the Santa Anita handicap with about a 105 buyer and ran off the screen doing that. And Skippy Longstocking, who was White Barrio's stablemate, came back off the race and set a track record, winning his next start at Tampa Bay Downs. 1-9 morning lines. You don't see those very often. Any place, anywhere, anytime. He will be 1-9, and it's probably just a matter of how far he wins by. You're looking to play the race. The only way to play it is to go for the gimmicks, I guess. I tried to beat Power Squeeze in here for second. The filly, she is going to run as far as I know, but for me, second would be Tuscan Sky or Lightning Tones, but it would almost take a miracle for White Barrier to get beat in here, I would think.
And again, there is a workout report available for the Florida Derby card?
Yes, it'll be available. It probably was available Friday evening, and it's a big stack report. A lot of good works. We do have that one maiden race. We have several first-time starters in there, 2 for Pletcher, 1 for Brad Cox, 1 for Bill Mott. We have limited works on Palmetto horses, but we do have some. The Payson Park horses. We do have some, but again, another interesting one of those 3-year-old maiden races at this point of the season. Too late to be a Derby horse coming out of there, but a lot of year left to go. Somebody out of there might find themselves stepping up in the big races when we get up to Saratoga the second half of the year.
Mike, appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing you sooner rather than later for extended summer action up in Saratoga, but enjoy Florida Derby Day.
Looking forward to being there. I'll be there for obviously a couple of weeks before the Belmont and then staying right through for the whole summer.
Very good. All right, stay tuned.
Just an alert. I'm feeling a little bit like Tippy Hedren here, as there are some mockingbirds that clearly are interested in something over here. They've been kind of dive bombing a little bit. So if all of a sudden in the middle of the show, one of them comes at me, you will know. But we'll take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll be joined by Aaron Greider from Gulfstream Park. A little bit later on, Brian Nadeau. All of that coming up when we return here on Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Happy to be joined now by Aaron Greider, Vice President of Racing Operations. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to have you on. And just give us some thoughts as you sat down. You said the Stronach Properties next week headed out to Santa Anita for their big race. But today, everybody has to be excited. This is a blockbuster card highlighted by the Florida Derby, but the undercard stakes are really great as well.
We've got 10 stakes today. The racing office did a really good job. We've got some good fields. We've got some special horses. Obviously, White Barrio is one of them that's 1 to 9. And again, he'll be a single on many people's tickets, but at the same time, he's one of the best horses rated in the world. So it's great to have him on this card as well.
Yeah, his performance in the Pegasus was just eye-popping.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so it's a really great card, obviously. I wanted to talk because I went out and I was kind of looking up some information on you and Gulfstream last night, and I wanted to go back because even up in New York, I was kind of saying through December as you guys were touting it, this sounds like a lot of fun if some snowbirds from our area are going to be down. In January, you had the Jockeys and Jeans. You were the MC. I pulled up some photos from the PDJF Twitter feed. That was the charity event. We've done some work, some charity events for Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund as well. But I have just some of the jockeys: John Couguet, Lafitte Pincaille, my friend Ramon Dominguez, Steve Cawthon, George Velasquez, Jerry Bailey, Pat Day. It looks like it was a really big day down here.
It was, and I apologize that I did have to miss it. I called in late because I had just come home. I was excited about hosting it and being with all the Hall of Fame riders that I was fortunate enough to ride with. But I got home 2 days earlier from Santa Anita, and I turned right back around because the fires had started. So, it got very close to Santa Anita, so we had to be out there to make sure everybody was safe. And so I did miss that event, but I heard it was great, and I wish I could have been here.
Yeah, no, just looking at the pictures, it was really blockbuster. And again, it was a great event for a great organization, the PDJF. And if people aren't familiar, Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund, they're up in Saratoga. There's always some events, the karaoke and whatnot. And so
that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, take advantage because they do good work. Any thoughts on the big race today?
Well, I know this has always been historically one of the best preps for the Kentucky Derby. And, this is a great race in itself. It's very odd that you see on a race such as the Florida Derby that the top two contenders as far as the odds both had rider changes.
Yeah.
Both riders had gotten hurt this week. Unfortunately, Tyler Gaffleone and Junior Alvarado riding the two favorites. They have Manu Franco, who comes in to ride Sovereignty, and Hadicapper Road. It's far from a two-horse field, but Mike Smith flew in this morning. So this is going to be a very competitive race. These are two horses that have a great style, but this is the 74th running of the Florida Derby, and there's been 25 horses that have gone on to win the Kentucky Derby that use this as their final prep. So more than its share, it gets the horses that go there at least being the favorites or the winners of the Kentucky Derby.
And it's interesting also because back in the day, certainly I remember, but you younger than me, but you probably remember too. Back in the day, you would not go from the Florida Derby to the Kentucky Derby. The spacing, but now it's directly. This will be the last prep for a lot of these horses.
Absolutely,
yeah. So it's going to be an interesting look at some of the horses. The Derby points are going to provide somebody a springboard, obviously, to get into the Kentucky Derby, and maybe another couple of horses as well. And I also wanted to mention, I mentioned on the early show, Pletcher and Rapoli and Pletcher going for their third straight. I like that.
Yeah, that's it. And this horse has got a little bit of speed, and I think you're going to see Mike Smith probably track in third. He's on an outside post. He has the luxury of being able to see it develop in front of him. His horse has got some tactical speed. He could, use it when he wants to use it. But these two favorites have totally different styles.
Yeah.
And I think Sovereignty is going to benefit from not only the distance, but being now that it's going to get a longer straight to run down because they're going to the second wire instead of the first wire. Junior had to really get to riding him early on in the churn, going into the churn, which is hard for a horse to pick it up because you're usually drifting wide and losing ground at the same time you're having to make it up. So
it was a crazy stretch run because it was hard to think River Thames was getting a run down.
Right. And this horse really showed the quality that he's got. But again, it's deeper than a two-horse field, and it's going to be a very fun race to watch.
Well, let me ask you, speaking of Sovereignty, as a former jockey yourself, as a handicapper, I gave him a little bit of a, fade a little bit with the outside post position going the mile and an eighth. What are your thoughts on the post position for Sovereignty?
That doesn't bother me at all, especially with the horse with his style. He doesn't want to be forwardly placed. So whether it's, Manny Franco riding, or if it was Junior Alvarado, they're going to put their hands down, let this horse get into stride, find his best stride, and then worry about making the ground up late. So I don't think the post position will bother this horse whatsoever.
Yeah, a win by him puts him right up. He's already there, but it will emphasize that top of the class in the top 2 or 3 as people consider their Kentucky Derby plays. Again, former jockey, and so I'm curious your thoughts on the jockey colony. I pulled up the Equibase stats a couple nights ago, so these numbers are a couple days old, but Irad Ortiz clearly is going to win the title. Tyler Gaffalione was in second. Again, he's one of the jocks that went to the sidelines with the broken ankle. Boy, the timing, wish Tyler the best. Luis Saez in the mix, Junior Alvarado, Dylan Davis, who came down this winter, having a very good meet. What's your thought on the championship meet jockey colony?
Well, it's always extremely strong, and I thought this year was even stronger with the addition of some of the younger guys like a Dylan Davis, and to see him do so well, and he's had great support from several trainers, and now he's going to move on to stay in that circuit and go on to Keeneland, and then before he heads back to New York. So I think it was a great move for him, but you know, the players enjoy it, and I know as fans, we all enjoy seeing those riders come in, and you know, there's excitement when everybody comes together. You have the best horses, you have the best trainers, the best jockeys. This is why Gulfstream Championship meet is so superior to, you know, other times of the year and other areas in the world.
Yeah, no, and great lineup of trainers as well, as evidenced by today's card with the big names here. You said headed out to Santa Anita for the Santa Anita Derby coming up next week, and the final round of preps, and then we'll have the Derby field set, as it were. But again, I was kind of looking up your history a little bit. You retired a few years ago from the riding side of the game, but Southern California was where you grew up, and I kind of found it interesting. There was a story I read that you kind of got into the game going down to hopping on the train with your grandparents and going to Del Mar. So you became a jockey, but you didn't really have horse people in your family. It was more the trips with the grandparents to the track.
Well, my grandparents were very involved in the racing as far as the gambling aspect of it. They were there every day at Santa Anita. We were born 15 minutes from Santa Anita, so they'd be at Santa Anita in the daytime and Los Alamitos at night. And then when the summers came, we'd go down to Del Mar. So I always loved it. I was fascinated by the horses. And I said when I was 4 years old, I'd be a jockey, but I was afraid of horses and never got on them until I was 13. So
that's interesting. So how did you then get introduced to becoming a jockey?
I met a retired jockey named Rudy Campus, and I was 12 years old at the time. And he told me, he said, if you want to learn how to ride, he said, you can come to my farm next year. I'll teach you how to take care of horses, get comfortable with them. And then once you do that, I'll get you on them. And at the end of that summer, I felt so good with him and loving working with the horses every day, and got over the fear of the horses that I called my parents and said, is it okay if I don't come home? So I moved 8 hours away from them when I was 13 years old. And that's when I, became very confident, loving working with the horses every day. And by the time I was 16 years old, I started racing in Tijuana, Mexico. So that's where my start was.
I was going to mention that the track down in Tijuana, was that an age thing? Why did you start down there?
I started down there on Rudy's recommendation that taught me how to ride. And it was very smart of him. At the time, I didn't care where I rode. I just wanted to be riding. But Rudy said, go down there. He said, you're always going to make mistakes. But he said early on, he said, if you want to make it in the big leagues, he said, you have to make a great impression when you get there. He said, if you go down to to Tijuana, it's close enough to Santa Anita, it's close enough to Del Mar. People are going to hear about this kid winning races, but they're not going to see him making the mistakes that cost some races. So by the time I got to Santa Anita, I had already had a little bit of experience and had some more confidence. So it was a good move on his part.
Did your races down there count against your apprentice?
Yes.
So still,
yes, but it was fine.
You still had the same situation there. You started riding the late 80s. I'm curious, as you watch the jockeys today, are there differences? Do you see differences between when you started and jockeys today and the style of riding or whatnot?
Well, there's differences. I mean, I was very fortunate when I came up at Santa Anita as a 16-year-old that I was riding with Bill Shoemaker, Chris McCarron, Lafitte Pinkai, Eddie De La Houssie, Fernando Toro. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Gary Stevens and Alex Solis. It's, and just to learn from them every day. And I went to them early on and said, help me be, as good as I can possibly be. If you see me doing anything, please let me know how I can improve on it. I think I see a change in that more than anything. I think a lot of kids aren't looking for the help, or maybe not getting the help that they need early on to shape them of the rider that they can become. But I mean, there's great riders, and I think as time goes on, everything evolves a little bit differently. But we have some fantastic riders right now, but I was very fortunate to ride with some of the best in history.
Yeah, no, those are clearly some of the names. And Migliore, Richard,
Yes.
he'll say kind of the same thing. And I think up in New York, he says he'll see young jockeys doing things and he'll go in and kind of mentor, because maybe there isn't that same kind of situation as when guys like you and he kind of got started.
Sure. And I'm very blessed, with the position I'm in, that I work closely with the riders in every jockey's room that we have. So I do get to speak with them. And if they have any questions, sometimes they'd rather get out of the room to ask a question or something. And I'm very, very fortunate.
Coming up here at Gulfstream, again, the meet winds up. This is the highlight, the exclamation point today, but the meet winds up tomorrow. Mandatory Rainbow 6, so people have that to look forward to tomorrow.
I'm sure it'll be good if it can get past today. It's already at a good number, and I'm sure a lot will be bet into it today.
Yeah,
exciting card.
You would think it'll still be alive. It's hard to predict, but you would think in a card like this, probably 6, because there are a couple of singles that people. Knightsbridge, I think, will be a single for a lot of people today. I don't know if that's a lock, but I think potentially there. And it's going to be fun to see how the Florida Derby plays out. Certainly. Again, we wrap things up today. Oh, I did have one other note that I want, because as I said, I was kind of looking up your history a little bit, and I was interested to see you have an IMDb page. I have one too, but mine isn't as exciting as yours.
Everybody tells me that. I haven't even read it. I didn't know they were a big deal, but people will tell me that, oh, you've got one of those pages. But
you were in The Sopranos.
Oh, yes, I was.
So what was that like?
It was a lot of fun. I met The Sopranos just after 9/11, and we were doing a lot of charity fundraisers for the families of the firemen, the policemen, and all the rescue workers. And so I got to know them quite a bit. And one day I was at Aqueduct, and the clerk of scales called, and I said, "Who's on the phone?" Because nobody calls me in the jockey's room. And they said, "I don't know. It's a producer from The Sopranos," which I thought he was kidding, but it was great. The guys had asked, they were going to have a small part for a jockey to be in, and they said, "We'd like Aaron to come out and do it." So I had a lot of fun with them. I got to get to know them throughout the charity events, but then a long time after that. So it was fun hanging out with them, and it's amazing. I was absolutely no good on it, but it was only 15 seconds. And
I was going to say, it seemed like it might, and it kind of read like Tony maybe wanted to whack you at some point.
Probably. But it was a lot of fun, and it was amazing to me after being on that to realize how popular that show really was. So it was fun.
Yeah, as I say, your IMDb page much more exciting than mine, because you were also on the jockeys. That was fun. That was a while ago now. I meant to check if that was streaming someplace, because that was fun.
Somebody told me it's on. It was on the Animal Planet, but I don't know. Somebody told me they saw it not that long ago, but
okay.
I never saw all the episodes. I didn't want to watch myself, but
I can understand.
But it was fun. It was like I think it introduced a lot of people that are now into racing that say, "Oh, I used to watch that show Jockeys, and that's what got me into it." And they're young people that are in their 30s enjoying it, but they enjoyed it in 2008 and 2009 watching it.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a while, and I hadn't even thought about it until I was reading about it last night, and I thought, I wonder if I could recommend it to people and point them. So I'm going to have to double check that. Aaron, appreciate the visit this morning. Again, wish you and everybody here at Gulfstream a lot of good luck this afternoon and over the next day or so to complete what has been a fun championship meet. We've been enjoying watching it and living vicariously up in the snowy Northeast. So it's nice to be here this weekend, but appreciate the visit. We'll talk again.
Thank you. It's going to be a great weekend. Enjoy it.
We'll take a break. When we come back, our friend Brian Addo will join us. We'll get some of his thoughts on the afternoon card right after this. Stay tuned.
Do you like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back, and look who's here, our friend Brian Nadeau, regular down here at the Gulfstream. You see him pregame, you see him paddock commentary and whatnot. I thought, got to get him in, get some thoughts on this big Florida Derby card. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, like old times, buddy. Good to
Yeah,
see you down
yeah.
here, and Shannon and Danny, of course. Yeah, miss you guys and like the old days. So it's good to get the band back together a little bit on a great day of racing, huh?
Yeah, no, really. And the sun has been popping in and out. Was a little bit breezy, or still a little bit, not like yesterday, though. A little bit overcast, but I'm loving the weather here regardless.
I think you're getting out of Dodge at the right time tomorrow. Tomorrow, maybe a little bit up in the air if you're looking at that rainbow and the mandatory tomorrow. Could be a little issue. Today, I think we're okay. If anything happens, I think it's very, very late and very minor. So
that's what we like. Speaking of the mandatory tomorrow, when we talk to Ron, and we'll have the tape piece from Ron coming up a little bit later on. He said he putting out a rainbow ticket. I assume maybe you're putting one out too.
Yep. It's a good sequence. Hopefully it keeps together on the turf. There's some good maiden races. A difficult sequence as well to close everything down.
Yeah, and again, that's tomorrow, last day of the meet. So mandatory in the rainbow tomorrow, Sunday. All right, let's get some thoughts on this card this afternoon, and we'll start with the Florida Derby. Love to get your take because I've talked to people over the past few days. I just went a little bit against Sovereignty on the post position, but we talked with Mike Welch, and we kind of explained to people the run-up situation, which gives a little more room now and may help mitigate that outside post position. I'm going to take a flyer with Disruptor and see if Fletcher and Napoli can win the third in a row.
You know, if it was any other horse, I would be concerned with the post position. With a horse like Sovereignty, who's essentially going to break and just take a left-hand turn, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And if you had Mike on and he talked about it, the run-up is more now. So it's a truer, fairer race, because if you've seen Derbies in the past, if you've seen Pegasus is in the past, it's a bad post position to be out there. There's no two ways about it. But I think he's a little different horse. You know, on paper, there's a lot of speed in this race. I think that's going to flatter Sovereignty too. The race goes through him. He ran so big in the Fountain of Youth as, what everybody thought was kind of a short horse too. And that's
Yeah.
pretty scary for these.
That was a huge stretch run.
It really was.
Yeah.
And that was a short stretch finish line. He's not supposed to do that at the short stretch. So he ran a 1 on the thoroughgraphs that day. That would lap this field today. So the race clearly goes through him. Manny Franco's going to come down, a guy you know so well from New York. He's won a Florida Derby before. I don't know if people realize that. He was a regular rider of Tis the Law. So I think that helps mitigate maybe a little bit that a guy that doesn't ride here often at all. I really thought they might go with a local guy, but, Manny has really fine-tuned his craft, and he rode a champion for Godolphin in Immersive last year. So I'm going to take a real stab, Seth. I picked Jimmy's Dailies. I have a lot of questions about a Disruptor, a Madacat Road. Certainly, I think there's a lot of speed in this race. Jimmy's Dailies had a tough trip last time behind what I think is Todd's best horse, Grande. He was always on the inside, and what was a 9-furlong race too. So he was taking the worst of it the entire way. He was facing winners, and he was trying 2 turns for the first time, and it was 9 furlongs. It wasn't the short stretch finish line of 1 mile and a 16th. So the fact that he held second, I thought he was, still trying hard at the end. Brian Lynch doesn't run horses where they don't belong, and he gets Joel today, who is, for my money, as strong a finishing rider as we have in the sport. And he's going to get run off his feet a little bit. And I think that's good for him, that he's going to settle a little bit. He's a big stab. He's a real admitted stab. Tappan Street's my other A because I think the race the flow of the race suits him pretty nicely.
Jimmy's Daily, you're looking to take down that rainbow today.
Yeah, right. He's going to be a big number. He's 12 on the morning line. They bet Brian's horses quite a bit. But he's intriguing to me. Tappan Street's doing the White Abario thing, and I'm certainly not comparing them, but White Abario a few years back won the Holy Bull, skipped the Fountain of Youth, and just aired in the Florida Derby, and that's what Tappan Street's trying to do today.
All right, let's go back. Race number 10, the Sanibel Island. This one for the 3-year-old fillies going a 7.5. I thought this was kind of a wide open race. I went with Savetta in here, the Brendan Walsh runner. The number 3 in the second spot, Classic Q's interesting. Candy Quest for Mark Cassie. He also trains Classic Q. Mark's having a very good meet. But your thought in the Sanibel Island?
I wanted to talk about this race. I'm picking the morning line favorite, but I don't think it's wide open at all. I think Love Cervere is going to demolish this field. I think there's some nice horses in here. And then I think there's her who's going to be a star. She had a lot of trouble. She had a ton of trouble. If you can go back and watch it on the Capital account, watch the Ginger Brew. She got absolutely.
And Nitrogen is
Nitrogen's as good as a 3-year-old filly as there is in the country for DJ and Cassie. She got murdered into the first turn. She had trouble in the stretch. She had trouble off the far turn. And while making her second lifetime start and first against winners and first, obviously, in a stakes, she's beaten a half length. So I love her today. I think her upside is tremendous, and I don't really see that with anybody else in this field. So she's going to be a single for me on all my horizontal tickets, including the late pick 5 that kicks off here that we're expecting to have $2 million in.
Nice. And I mentioned it earlier with the expanded card. There'll be some extra picks this afternoon.
4 pick 5s and 4 pick 4s.
There's 4 pick 5s?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very nice. When I did the handicappers, I highlighted 3 of them.
Yep.
9th today is the Gulfstream Park Oaks, on these big days for the 3-year-old boys, 3-year-old girls also highlighted. And then the Gulfstream Park Oaks. To me, it looks like the Queen's MG and Queen's MG and 5G are the horses to beat. I went with 5G.
Yeah.
But in between those two, I put the Shug horse, who I think could be a little bit interesting as well.
Well, we don't have anything clever because that's exactly what I did too. I think 5G is the horse. I don't think there's any doubt about that. She's proven at 2 turns. She's got a big tactical edge on what, I guess is her main rival, the Queen's MG, and it's a short stretch finish line in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. So that's going to help her a lot too. The Queen's MG, she had a dream trip in the Devona Dale. I don't want to take anything away from her because she did do it easily.
And it was a nice, I think Lacar is a nice horse. So it was a nice
she
performance.
Is.
But
it was.
In the stretch, there was going to be no catch.
Yes, and I had Lacara singled that day. So I agree with you. Chad's horse ran 3rd, who was simply prepping. She's a Kentucky Oaks filly. But the Queen's MG just had a dream run right up the rail. She's never been 2 turns. I think she's a little slow. She's a lot slow on paper. And that's why numbers. And that's why I did what you did, Seth. And I put I put Cassier in second. Now, she's a weird horse. She's got a big buyer, but she only ran a 12 on the Thoroughgrass. And if you go back and watch that race, it was a blanket finish, which I don't think it screams great race. But she was also 12-1 for Shug, breaking from the far outside post for a guy that just never cranks him up early. So the fact that she won, I think, is meaningful.
And then he goes off of that in here.
You said it perfectly.
Shug, yeah.
It's not something this guy's going to do too often, a Hall of Famer, as true a horseman as there is. So I think that in and of itself says, boy, you should take notice with a pedigree that wants to run all day too.
Yeah, interesting group in here, obviously. Before we let you go, any thoughts, Arkansas Derby and Cornucopia?
You know, I looked at it actually last night for the first time. I looked at Tommy's horse, the West Point horse, for our friends there.
Sandman.
Yeah, Sandman. And the Rebel winner seemed okay as well. But, you know, at least on paper, they're all pretty slow. And this horse has some brilliance to him. Now, they're asking him to do so much, to go from, I believe, 6 furlongs right out to 9 furlongs. But it's Baffert, it's a speed horse, it's Oaklawn, which he has just absolutely dominated. And I think the ultimate feather is the race that he won was at Oaklawn. And I think that's a big deal too. So
it looked like they sent him to that said something too.
Yeah, I have no problem taking shots against, you know, potentially vulnerable favorites. It's very quick glance, but I didn't think that was him today.
I went with Cole Battle, who either Mike or Dave Grenick said if that horse was trained by anybody else, wouldn't be kind of overlooked the way the horse has been so far.
Yeah.
He's a great story with, you know, lower level connections there. And D. Wayne Lucas being on the Derby trail, there are going to be some good storylines heading forward, including coming out of the Florida Derby today, because clearly we'll have 1, 2, maybe 3 that'll get points that'll be headed there.
That's the interesting thing, because Sovereignty's already in, and that is a slight little elephant in the room. You know, how cranked is he? Because we didn't think he was cranked to win the Fountain of Youth, and he won it, and it's behind him now. And, you know, it'd be a big deal for a Godolphin homebred to win a Grade 1 race. But, of course, the Kentucky Derby's up there as well. You would think second place is going to get you in the Derby, too. And that's pretty cool. And there's horses with points already. So even a third place, a good third place, we could send as many as 3 horses to the Derby. And the Carolina, Florida Derby's been pretty darn good stepping stone for roses. So we're excited.
Brian, appreciate it as always. Great work. You know, we're up in the studio and constantly watching you guys down here pregame and paddock commentary, you and Samantha and Ron, certainly. So keep up the good work. Have a great day today. Appreciate the visit.
Yeah, great to see you and Shannon and Danny, and hope everybody back home is doing well.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap it up. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back. We'll wrap it up here, but we have another tape piece. So I'm going to wrap it up and say goodbye because we have to vacate the set. So the Gulfstream folks can get in. Again, early post time today of 11:30. Keep that in mind. So again, I'll wrap it up. But we did tape Ron Nicoletti yesterday, got his thoughts. We'll run that right after the show. So I'm going to wrap it up and say goodbye, but stay tuned. Ron's going to have some thoughts on some of the action coming up just in a very short moment. So stay tuned for that. But I did want to wrap it up, give our thank yous. First of all, to our crew. Anthony Probst is up in our Albany control room. Thanks to Anthony for handling things up there. Dan Hayes, Shannon Donovan down here with me. Great work over the past couple of days, so appreciate that. Do want to give a little shout also to our man Dino, who's a little under the weather. Hopefully he is feeling better over the next few days. Down here, the TV crew, Ben upstairs and the whole crew upstairs. Dennis, our man behind the camera, who does a great job. Always fun to see Dennis down here when we come down and visit. So again, thanks to the TV crew down here for their great hospitality. And overall here at Gulfstream Park, Dave Joseph and the folks out in the media office. It's always fun to go in there. You know, Brian and Ron and Samantha are in there. Go in and shoot the breeze with them. Mike Welch and Dave Grenig from the Racing Forum. Always fun to see them. We have them as regulars up at Saratoga, but it's fun to see them down here every year. Ed Gray, Phil Janak. Phil, of course, former sports writer for the Schenectady Gazette. So it's always fun to go into the press office and just shoot the breeze when we're down here for a few days and visit. And again, thanks to everybody for their hospitality, certainly including everybody up in the executive offices and whatnot. Thanks today for the visit from Aaron Greider from Gulfstream and Brian Nadeau. Thanks for taking the time, tape pieces, Mike Welch, Safi Joseph, and coming up in just a moment, Ron Nicoletti. Yesterday, Terry Finley, Tommy Bellhouse from West Point. Appreciate that. Dylan Davis took some time as well. Again, if you didn't see yesterday's show, you can pull it up on the YouTube channel. If you tuned in late today, you can pull it up on our Capital OTB YouTube channel. We always appreciate your tuning in. So again, great day of racing coming up. Keep that in mind as the day goes, what we've discussed as far as plenty of pick action, pick fours and pick fives on the card today. Should be a great day of racing here at Gulfstream with players heading to Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby. White Barrio on the card. It'll be a lot of fun. Don't forget Arkansas Derby today at Oaklawn. They have a great card as well. Pick six carryover up at Aqueduct of $19,000. So it's a really fun Saturday, highlighted for us by the action here at Gulfstream. And we'll be running around today and picking up some interviews after some of the stakes races. We'll stitch those together, and we'll be back on regular time tomorrow, racing across America. But again, it'll be a little tape version from Gulfstream Park. Again, kind of recapping some of the big stakes action today here at Gulfstream Park, and there is plenty of it. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Seth Merrow, live from the Gulfstream Park paddock. It's been fun the past couple of days to be in here in the morning, and as I say, enjoying clearly the weather as compared to that winter we had up in the Northeast. Hopefully you are living a little vicariously through us over the past few days, and again, continue to do so tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. when Racing Across America will recap the action, but enjoy all the action today on OTB TV. Make a little money this afternoon and maybe jump in for the mandatory rainbow tomorrow here at Gulfstream as well. But again, thanks for tuning in. We'll wrap it up. Coming up momentarily, though, again, tape piece from yesterday, Ron Nicoletti taking a look at some of the Gulfstream Park action. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back up in the studio next week. Thanks for watching. Happy to be joined now by our friend Ron Nicoletti. Always fun to talk to Ron down here at Gulfstream and when he makes the visit up to Saratoga. So looking forward to that again this year when you drive the bike over. But happy to be here after a nice long winter up in New York. And we'll talk a little Florida Derby. Let's kick it off. I'm going to take a little shot with Disruptor. I think that horse could be special. Sovereignty's the horse to beat, but the outside post position spooked me a little bit. Your thoughts on the Derby?
Well, I went with Sovereignty, in the race. And what I liked, I don't know if people are aware out there, they're sure they go, we changed the run up a little bit. We've been wanting for years to get there. So it makes the outside post. You got a shot. With Sovereignty, before Junior Alvarado got hurt, I got to talk to him extensively, and the plan is just to, duck to the rail anyway, because he comes from the clouds. He's bred for the distance, and he was just so impressive winning his last race.
Neo Equo stretching out River Thames. Sovereignty warming to the task for Alvarado. He's on the far outside into third. Gate to Wire finds his best stride. Burnham Square's bid is stalled as River Thames has made a clear lead. Off the turn and the stretch drive in the Fountain of Youth, and River Thames, he has the lead by 2 with a 16th to go. Sovereignty begins to get on track, but time is ticking away. River Thames almost there. Sovereignty gonna dive at him late. Here comes Sovereignty!
And he was just so impressive winning his last race, that I'm going to go back to him, change your jockeys now. Manny Franco's going to come in and ride. He's had success here in the past. He actually won the Florida Derby and I think the Holy Bull. So he knows how to ride here. I wish he had, with somebody that had more experience here, but I'm still going to go with him. But as you mentioned with Disruptor, boy, Todd Pletcher going for his ninth Florida Derby. That's almost impossible to say. You keep choking when you're going to say it. You can't believe it. And he does it with horses like this.
And 3 straight, too, for Pletcher and Rapoli.
Yeah, Rapoli, too. So see if we can do that. There's so many firsts there that if they do it, you don't even have to mention them all. So, and then, what do you do with Manicat Road? Looks like it's second string to me. Of course, Hall of Famer Mike Smith into ride. Just thinks maybe he runs for Bob Baffert, so I threw him in the try. So many different ways. What I liked about the race the most is if you're not sold on any one horse, it's a pretty good betting race. It's not one of these, oh my God, you got this horse, he's 1-9 and he's just going to win it. This one, if Sovereignty didn't win, I wouldn't be shocked.
And Sovereignty with the outside post position may help his odds a little bit too.
Yeah, to help his odds a little bit, and it could be the same, don't have him totally cranked. I think he has enough points to get in the Kentucky Derby. So let's see what it was. He was just so impressive last time. Love the work that Bill Mott does. Bill Mott's very high on him. He put a work into these horses, the good work, so he's ready to go.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Also on the card tomorrow, the Army Mule. This will be the older horses sprinting in here. I had the 4 on top. That is Knightsbridge, the logical for Bill Mott. Lightly raced, but I think it's a horse with plenty of talent. Of a Revolution, I think, is interesting for Safi at a little bit of a price. What did you see in the Army Mule?
Yeah, I went with Knightsbridge. I just thought coming back in a mile was such a good race, turning back to the 7 furlongs today. And talking about Bill Mott and his workouts, if you look at this horse's last work up at Payson Park, 46 and something, best of 60 horses at the distance. They don't do this. That barn does not do this. So I'm really happy. Actually made him my single in my Rainbow 6 and my late pick 4. I think he's going to run that well. Horses, I think maybe Inveigle can run a little bit and Gordian not. But I just think Knightsbridge is going to have Joel Rosario. I think is absolutely one to beat. They're so sure of that I made it my single. And it almost bit my tongue when I say so sure, because I might have put myself in a losing position right now.
We've all been there, but I agree. He looks awfully good, certainly. Yeah. And the Sanibel Island, 3-year-old fillies going 7.5 on the turf. I have the 6 on top here. Savetta for Brendan Walsh, Irod Ortiz on board. I think he's had a decent winner. Finished 5th last time, but less than a couple of lengths away. Classic Q in the mix for me. The 3-horse, the 1-horse Candy Quest. Your thoughts in the Sanibel Island?
Well, we're thinking a lot. Savetta, we're getting a little bit of a price, I believe 5-1 something. This horse I've been following all along. I thought he should have won a couple of his races, especially back in the Grade 3 Matron when he got beat in neck, when she got beat in neck, excuse me. And I just think that she's had a little bad, we'll say racing bad luck, you know what I mean, where she's positioned. I thought that 5th place finish you mentioned was better than it looked.
Yeah.
You're getting a leading rider, Irad Ortiz Jr. I don't know. He knocks off 2 points, so maybe we won't get 5-1, but he's not the one that's going to be the favorite. I don't believe in that. And I also used in the Loves the Severi and Mrs. Worldwide.
And people can find your picks every day on the website. You have the long shot play of the day, which is always a lot of fun. And you guys put up various pick plays on social media and whatnot. And we should also mention, I keep mentioning it the last couple of days, with the end of the meet, mandatory pay on the Rainbow on Sunday.
Yeah, I just put my ticket together, $86.40. Put a video on it. I don't know if it's out yet. It will be. I was lucky I got it last mandatory for $1,200.
Yeah,
$1,200. Yeah, it was nice. It was just a lot of fun. So, of course, I'm going to try and do it again. So we'll see how it plays out. Always a pleasure to see you guys. Can't wait to get up in Saratoga and can't wait to get on my bike.
Yeah, very good. Ron Nicoletti, Gulfstream Park. Happy to be here. Happy to see Ron. Stay tuned.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.